Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. Daniel here. And today we are going to do my top 10 games that I am looking forward to in 2019. So 2019 is shaping up, well, I guess I could say it has the potential to be a fantastic year for dungeon crawls and fantasy adventure games. Now, all 10 of these games on this list today are going to, or were from Kickstarter. That doesn't mean that there aren't non-Kickstarter games that I am looking forward to. It's just that I don't really monitor releases from the big companies until they're out. So there may be some stuff from like Games Workshop or Fantasy Flight, games coming out, or from Plaid Hat, I think, has a new one coming out, but I don't really, I just don't really pay attention to that kind of stuff until they're on the shelves and I can go and get them. So the games that I would say I'm like most anticipating are from Kickstarter. Now that comes with the caveat that there is a chance that some of these games may not make it to 2019. There's at least one on here that I'm almost positive will not be released this year, even though the Kickstarter campaign said that it was going to be. And I really don't know too much about these games, except for the fact that I did back them and I am anticipating them. So just because a game is on this list doesn't mean that I think it's going to be a good game. It means I'm hoping that it's going to be a good game. Big difference there. So I guess without any further ado, these are kind of in a number order from my least anticipated to most anticipated. And what I'm just going to kind of do is just go through the list, give a reason why I'm excited, a reason why maybe I might be a little hesitant, and then just maybe a little something else about the game. I am sipping on a Bruichladdich Port Charlotte. It's a highly peated single malt Scotch, and it is very good. The last of my bottle. I'm actually running a little bit low on scotches and whiskeys, so need to pick some up on the next paycheck. Anyhow, let's get to the list. Oh, this is like the first top 10 list I've done for the channel, and I guess I've had the channel for just about a year now, so maybe that's some kind of record, the longest a board game channel has ever gone without it without a top 10. I don't know, but I'm going to put together maybe some top 5 lists this year and some other kind of listing things, because I know people like those. So all right, coming in at number 10 is going to be Secrets of the Lost Station. And that's from designer Christopher Batarlis and the publisher Everything Epic Games. Secrets of the Lost Station is the spiritual sequel follow-up to what is my favorite board game of all time, Secrets of the Lost Tomb. So one of the reasons that I am looking forward to this game is I think this company does a really good job of creating dungeon crawls that have really good non-combat encounters. You guys all know how much I love non-combat things that happen, random events in my games. And Secrets of the Lost Tomb has stacks of cards to depict non-combat encounters. And Secrets of the Lost Station will probably have even more. The reason why this is only at number 10 and not higher is because the theme. I love science fiction as a fiction. I love speculative fiction. I read a lot of science fiction. But when it comes to games, both board games and video games, I prefer things that have more fantasy elements. And that's just because I think in a game setting, I think fantasy is more interesting to look at. It's usually more brightly colored, it's more varied. A lot of times science fiction games in video games and in board game form, they always seem to take place in these kind of like sterile environments. And I know Secrets of the Lost Station does. It takes place in a spaceship, so everything is like silver and blue. So in that sense, whenever something is more sci-fi in a game, I'm just a little hesitant to get super excited about it. However, I trust Christopher Bartalis, because Big Trouble in Little China is a great game. Secrets of the Lost Tomb is a great game. These guys know how to make thematic games, and I think the game is just going to be pretty dang cool. All right, coming in at number 9. This is the wild card on the list, because if this is actually coming out in 2019, it would be a miracle, and that is Dungeon Universalis, and that's coming from Oscar Bribian and Ludic Dragon Games. Now, I believe these guys are from Spain. I believe they're Spanish, and I don't really know a lot about Spanish game development, especially in terms of these kind of thematic games. Dungeon Universalis has the potential to be perhaps the ultimate dungeon crawl game, because what it is it is more of a system, and they call it the Dun system. And this system you can use to play the scenarios and campaigns that come with the game that they're designing. Or they say that you can even use their system to play other games with, be it a generic dungeon crawl RPG, or even utilizing their rules on top of other dungeon crawls. So in that sense, I keep thinking of Advanced Hero Quest. So the rule set for Advanced Hero Quest is one of the best systems for a dungeon crawl that I know of. However, it is also quite archaic and very fiddly. So if they can create a system like that is kind of a generic dungeon crawl and then they also provide all kinds of components, hundreds of standees, stacks of cards, stacks of tiles, and they allow you to go on just basically an endless number of random quests and create your own campaigns. That could be very cool. So that's what I'm looking forward to, because it's a big system. What has me a little hesitant is it's a big system. They're trying to cram everything into this game. It's a co-op, it's solo, it's one versus many, it's a generic system. I mean, it really sounds like they're pouring, this could be 4 different games, and they're putting it all into one. So fingers crossed on this one. Dungeon Universalis, this is the one that there's no way this is coming out in 2019. It would literally be a board game miracle if it did. So, all right, that was my number 9. Number 8 is the Tainted Grail, Fall of Avalon, and that's from Krzysztof Piotrowski and Awaken Realms. So Awaken Realms, of course, the creators of this War of Mine, which is a fantastic game, highly thematic, incredibly deep storytelling, very well written, but also quite depressing in its theme. Not something I want to get to the table all the time, even though I think the game is fantastic. This company, Awaken Realms, I believe that Tainted Grail is now the #1 Kickstarted thing ever. Maybe just board game. And this thing was crazy on Kickstarter. It made so much money. And I really believe that Awaken Realms is a company to keep our eyes on. So what has me most excited is that this game really does seem to be made for the solo player, because they spent a lot of time during the campaign talking about how great this is for solo and co-op up to 4 players. The thing that I'm a little hesitant about is, one, well, because it's so heavily narrative based, is the writing and the potential for game-breaking typos, such as you might have in a, if it says to turn to page such and such to continue your quest and it's the wrong page, or not enough info is given for you to determine what you're supposed to do next. So that has the potential to fall. Another thing I do really like about it is it's very light on the minis. There's only a handful. You can order more, but I didn't. I just went for the standee version. There's a few like key characters that are minis. So that was my number 8, and that was Tainted Grail, Fall of Avalon. All right, so my number 7 is Wander, the Cult of Barnacle Bay. And that's coming from Panda Cult Games and Jonathan Phillips Bradford. This game should be shipping soon. I think it's going to be loaded on the boats kind of like any week now. This is a furry game, anamorphic animals, or anthropomorphic, anamorphic. Wasn't that a TV show or something? The Animorphs? Yeah. Anthropomorphic animals. So that's the thing I'm a little iffy on. You know, had this been in like the late 80s or 90s when I was super into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it would have been awesome. But now I'm a little less excited about animals as characters. It's okay. It works. It's cute. Mice and Mystics, yeah. But I like Mice and Mystics is more like your actual animal. I don't know. I don't know why there's a distinction. Maybe because in that game you are humans transformed into animals, whereas in this one you are just playing as anthropomorphic animals. But I think the art's cool. It looks bright and colorful. And what I'm really looking forward to this one is they're claiming that it has a really good branching campaign. So you're going to be able to have choices at the end of your quests and scenarios to go to different ones. So hopefully you can play the same campaign multiple times and have different missions and scenarios. It looks like it might be just a little too much focused on combat. Maybe there won't be a lot of non-combat things to do in the game. I'm not sure, but we will see on that. So that was Wander, Cult of Barnacle Bay. All right, so number 6 is D6, Dungeons, Dudes, Dames, Danger, Dice, and Dragons. That's a mouthful. This is another one that I probably would be surprised if it came out this year. If it does, it's going to be probably really late. This is kind of a super meta game, and my mind is completely blanking out, but there's been a couple iOS and small indie games like this, Paper Quest or Paper Ventures, games where you're not playing the characters, you are playing players playing the game. So in this game, you and the other players around the table, and it is soloable. They say, we'll touch on that a little bit later. You are playing characters, playing a role-playing game, playing Dungeons and Dragons basically. And you have to go around, and it's real meta, so you have to like try to tell your story and get your items and go on quests. I have a feeling this one is not going to work super well solo, that it's going to be a much better game at 4 players. So we'll see. I think it looks cool. It's got really neat art. And I do like meta things. I like things that are about the thing they're about. So I am looking forward to that. But it has the potential to be pretty cool. All right, number 5. And this one I think is due very soon, and that is Hellboy, the board game. So unfortunately, this is coming from Mantic. So I hope it's the exact opposite in terms of excitement that from Dungeon Saga. And it's coming from James M. Hewitt at Mantic Games. So Hellboy, a fantastic comic. I finally actually read them last year for the first time ever. I don't know why I've never read Hellboy, and it completely blew me away. One of the best comics I've ever read. I think I read the first 5 trades, and I would definitely am going to finish everything. The movies are okay, but the board game is, based on the comics, has great art, cool minis. It seems to have a lot of variety in the missions and the way that the scenarios are set up. So there should be a good amount of variety to keep things surprising and interesting. The one thing I'm not looking forward to or one thing I'm a little hesitant on is it is IP based. So maybe the designers might feel a little trapped in what they can do. maybe their creativity was not allowed to be unbridled, and that could affect the amount of excitement, or maybe it could affect the future of the game. So we'll see. But this one, I'm pretty sure is coming out fairly quickly. So what are we at? Let's see, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Number 4. Number 4 is kind of a known quantity, and that is Machina Arcana, the 2nd edition. So I have the 1st edition, and it is a interesting game. It's a kind of a steampunk Lovecraftian adventure game where your party of explorers are basically, it's basically a Mountains of Madness type thing. You're going into these mountain dungeons and you're diving further and further and further down to try to figure out a mystery in one of the scenarios. And the campaign, the scenarios are quite long, and they're broken up in different chapters. So what I really liked about the 1st edition is the art. What I am not so excited about in the 2nd edition is they've changed the art. The 1st edition had this really bold kind of black and white or sepia tone art with very bold and striking line work. The 2nd edition, it looks much more generic, much more like something you would see from Fantasy Flight, which means it's good, but it doesn't have that bold characteristic that I like. What I am really looking forward to, though, is hopefully they've done some work on the rule system. They've streamlined things, written things better, and made the game flow better. So if they can do that, I think they have a hit on their hands, because it's an interesting setting and some interesting mechanics about exploring these really bizarre dungeons, fighting creatures, and just trying to figure out what's going on. Number 3, this could be number 1. I'm not sure why it's not. Maybe because, I know why it's not number 1, because I'm not quite sure how it's going to play solo. And that is Skull Tales Full Sail. This is a big kind of pirate-themed game, but with supernatural things. Very much, I think, similar to the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, which I enjoy a lot. The 3rd one, At World's End, I think is one of my favorite movies, just because of how aggressively weird it is for a big-budget American action film. And this looks like that. It's pirates, but you're also dealing with magic and monsters and stuff. Now, they say this is co-op or semi-cooperative for 1 to 5 players. When they say that, that usually means that the solo game is kind of hamstrung, or it's there's maybe some things you have to do differently. I'm not sure. I can't say that, I'm not making any positive claims about that, but it does give me some hesitation about that. But the game looks beautiful. It may be a little bit too minis heavy. There's a lot of mini stuff going on. But I like how you have 3 distinct modules in the game. You have a sailing section where you're discovering land. You have a port section where you land your ship, and then you have a dungeon crawl section where you set up tiles and go into caves and stuff and explore islands. So if all of those parts work together, that's going to be a really very cool game. Number 2, I think the Kickstarter for this ended in like 1991 or something, and that is, of course, Madera. Middara, the dream of a dungeon diver. This game is it's going to be absolutely massive. The quest book alone that contains all of the scenarios is 500 pages. They have like multiple novels worth of written material. It's all going to be in spoken form on an app so you can listen to it. The game comes in a giant box. It's like an anime, steampunk kind of urban fantasy setting. It comes with a good amount of minis, but not a ton, and also some standees. It seems to be very much more focused on the tactical combat. However, there are things within each scenario that you have to discover. There are non-combat encounters. It is going to be just, it's going to be a table hog for sure. And the one thing that I am most hesitant about is, will it have the legs to hold our interest for 500 pages worth of scenarios? You know, I have no idea. I don't know if the game is going to be good enough for the content that it's providing. Maybe they should have broken this up into 3 different games. I don't know, but I do know one thing, that this is coming sooner than some people think. And that's about all I can say on that. And finally, number 1, and that is, of course, from who is perhaps the most positive person on the internet, Roger Deering. And that is his lifelong kind of passion project, and that is Dungeon Crusade Book 1, Genesis of Evil. This has the potential to be a uber dungeon crawl with giant maps, all super detailed with traps and NPCs, hundreds of quests, hundreds of items, hundreds of monsters, just multiple boards. This game or if you bought it, this game comes with a game you play before the game to see how you set up your game. I mean, I've seen pictures of this thing set up with all of the boards. It almost looks like if you guys have ever played Super Talisman, where you play Talisman with every expansion, including the fan-made expansions, and it takes like 4 rooms with 12 tables set up. This looks like that. The one thing well, 2 things I'm hesitant about. Okay, Roger, you know I love you. You're a great guy. Roger and we talked about getting together this year. I might maybe fly to his place to have a weekend of board gaming, of dungeon crawling, which hopefully we can get on video for everybody. I think that would be super awesome because we have so much in common. We've also talked about doing some music together. But one, I worry about him being too close to this project and not seeing some of the potential failures in the rules. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully he has some good eyes besides his looking at the rule book. And what was the other potential? I guess just a, that's it. You have to play with a full party. So you can't just take 1 or 2 heroes. I'm pretty sure you have to play with the whole complement of like 5 players. However, he has been very adamant about, or 6 players actually, he's been very adamant about saying that like this game really is designed for solo play. So I think he's streamlined what each hero can do to make it easier for a single person to keep track of everything. But there is a ton of stuff to keep track of in this game. I don't even know if it's going to fit on this table here where I do videos, so I'm not even sure what's going to happen with this one, but it looks incredible. And that's it. Those are the 10 games I am most looking forward to. I know there are others, Solomon Kane, Everrain. Definitely looking forward to those 2, but these 10 are at the top of my list. If there are games you guys are looking forward to, let me know. I'm sure I missed some. There are always games coming out that I have no idea. You know, I'm not like some like news hound with board games. I don't get, and I'm not privy to information that anybody else is not privy to. So hopefully these games are good. Hopefully they come out this year and we'll see. So all right guys, we'll take it easy and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.